What's up, Coachable family? Welcome back to the Coachable podcast. I'm your host, Tori Gordon, and today we are in for a treat because this is your place to level up in life and business, to get off the sidelines into the game of life and stop playing defense so that you can truly create and hit the goals that you're trying to go for in life. Todd Steinberg is here joining me, the co-founder of Komuso Design, which is one of my absolutely favorite brands to partner with, but also just they're revolutionizing the way we breathe and meditate and reduce stress and become more mindful in our lives. And I can't say enough good things about what Todd and Komuso Design are up to. So I'm so excited to have him today to have a conversation about the importance of breathing, which if you've listened to this show before, you know is one of my absolute favorite topics because it's truly a superpower. So welcome to the show, Todd. Thanks for being here.
Oh, Tori, it's my pleasure. And I love that you just started it with a sports metaphor about going on offense, because that speaks to me in that for so much of my life, I was playing defense and just kind of reacting to my life. So breathing is now my superpower. And if it wasn't for a straw, I would have never found it. So
yeah, let's talk about that. I want to, because I think we all have a story of a time in our life. If it's not something we're currently walking and living in or through right now, maybe it's something we've all been through, which is a period of time where you are on defense, where you're in a stressed out, reactive state, where maybe you're not living with the level of intention that you want to be, but you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to get through it. Like, this is a tool that's revolutionizing the way that we relax and come back to our breath and come back to our center. But tell me about before this was a tool for you and what life was like before you discovered this technique of breathing.
Yeah, so jumping right into kind of a heavy story here was I had this aha moment in my life that if it weren't for this, this tool wouldn't exist, and kind of like the new version of me wouldn't exist. Mm-hmm. And that's because I had just had my son, and I was realizing that I was falling into a similar pattern of stress and anxiety that my father was going through. And he died at an early age from heart disease. And it was basically stress, right? Like, I remember him always driving through these worries and fears and money and job and raising a family. And I was thinking to myself, I will never repeat that, right? Like, we learn from our parents, and some of the things we pick up are good and some of the things we correct, whether it be gambling, alcoholism, diet, you name it. Mine was stress. I'm not going to fall down that same road. And was realizing at that time that there I was, repeating those same mistakes. I was waking up with stress. I was going through stress all day. And I knew it because it was manifesting through my body, right? Like, I was having stomach pain. I had indigestion. I was losing my breath for no reason, just figured it was a normal thing. And, couldn't fall asleep at night, all the same stuff. And I was comforting it through drinking, eating, scrolling, and thinking the whole time that, yeah, this is normal. This is just adult life. And I'm a dad now, so this is what it is. But it wasn't, it wasn't how we should live our life. And it was at that time when I was talking to a friend of mine who's a psychotherapist. He's like, look, let me help you. Let me introduce you to meditation. And I had heard of meditation, great things, and I tried Headspace and I tried a few apps, Calm. They were great, but they were great because I used them. And the problem was I wasn't using them consistently. I wasn't using them every day. So I was like, look, meditation's not for me. So I ruled it out. And he's like, no, you can't give up. You have to use it. How about we simplify it to breath work? And I was like, okay, breath work seems a little less mystical, new age. Like I like things practical. So just make it easy for me, right? So he looked at his Dunkin' Donuts coffee and he said, I know it's going to sound weird, but I'm going to hand you a straw and you're going to breathe through it. And I will never forget thinking this is crazy, by the way, breathing through a straw for about 30 seconds. And within the first 15 seconds, I could feel my heart rate coming down. My shoulders dropped. I felt looser, calmer. And at that 30-second mark, it was like, whoa, why? What just happened? What is this straw doing by extending my exhales? Like, it can't be just that. It can't be that easy. And lo and behold, it was just this simple straw breathing technique that guided my mind from wherever it was in the past or present to inhales and exhales, right? Breathing, present. And the longer exhales was triggering my vagus nerve to trigger my parasympathetic nervous system to enter rest and digest from fight or flight. Now, all this is going on with these chemicals in my brain and my body. I have no idea what's happening. But at that moment, I felt good. And then when I researched it, I Googled, okay, I'm going to buy this, right? There's got to be some sort of tool out there that I can buy, whether it's a tchotchke or a necklace or whatever. And nothing existed. I do Google meditation tool, straw breathing tool, nothing, literally nothing was out there. So came home that night and I told my girlfriend at the time, or sorry, it was my wife. It was like, hey, what can we do to build this thing? And it's like, now we have a kid, like we have to fix ourselves. Mm-hmm. How do we do it? And we built a necklace for ourselves. And it was like, okay, this works for us. Why don't we build this for the world? And here we are.
Yeah. And it's a tool that I absolutely love. Obviously, I'm wearing mine right now. I talk about it all the time because I don't think the masses understand. I know that we don't understand the power of our own breath and the transformative feeling, the euphoria, the peace, the relaxation that's on the other side of our breath. We feel like these things, these states of being are so far away. They're so far in the distance. If only we could, feel calm, feel peaceful. That feels like such a task for so many people. And what you're doing is you're making it so accessible and basically saying there's no one excuse, but no reason why you can't feel good. No reason why you have to resort to these other ways of coping because you can just breathe. It is that simple. And for some people, I know for me, my story, like yours, was there was a point in time I had been going through a lot at this point in my life, and I was kind of on a path of seeking. I knew I needed something different in my life. This was in my mid to late 20s, and I was in a Whole Foods line, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm standing there with my arms crossed just like this, and she's talking to me, and she says, "Tori, first of all, put your arms down." And I didn't realize just how my posture was, an indication of how closed off to life I was. And then she says, "Take a deep breath." And I took a deep breath. And then she's like, "No, now breathe out of your belly," because I just breathed into my chest. I hadn't even considered breathing into my belly. And she's like, "No, take a deep breath. I'm standing in this line at Whole Foods. Take a deep breath." And then I let it out and I think to myself, oh my God, I couldn't tell you the last time I've breathed with intention or even thought about breathing. And so now I tell people, and what I love about what you guys do is you're bringing awareness to, first of all, the thing that animates and gives us all life. Like when we become aware of our breath, we become aware of our life. And if we are unaware of our breath, how unaware are we of how we're acting, how we're being, how we're showing up in the world? And so what I love about this tool is not that it's just practical in use, but it's like a physical reminder to become aware of the life that's being lived right here, right now. And it is that like bridge, in my experience, breath is the bridge from your head into your heart. What did you think is the key for people who are in that busy state? They're in that go, stressed out. I just have so much to do. What is it about the elongating of the breath and breathing through this tool? Because this it's like a beautiful straw that you've designed. That's I actually just inhale and then exhale through this necklace. What is it about this, the way that this is built, that really helps us achieve that state of shift?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you went through that, right? Because that was your awakened moment where it's like, oh yeah, I'm not breathing, or I'm not breathing consciously, and I think it catches people off guard. Well, you're telling me that a few breaths can get me back to a normal state, and the answer is yeah. We never learned it though, right? You go back to early childhood. Our parents never taught us. School taught us. We were too busy learning quadratic equations and information that we're never going to use, right? So here we are, we're into our adulthood and we're trying to learn how to breathe. And this is like the first lesson that monks learn in their kindergarten, right? Is the importance of breath and how we breathe and why we breathe a certain way. And if we were breathing correctly, which is breathing less, I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, it would allow us to actually, like a remote control, guide our nervous system. And we could actually start to feel more power over how we feel, which with 50,000 thoughts per day, and I'm not making that number up, that's a real number. And there's a study that says that 80% of those thoughts are negative. And the real jarring statistic here is that 90%, this is a study, 90% of those negative thoughts repeat the next day. So what does that mean? It means that we're in this cycle of stress. We just keep ruminating and thinking about the same stuff, the same money problems, relationship problems, job problems. If you're in school problems, school stress, social stress, like whatever it is, you are going to keep thinking about that same problem over and over and over again. And that is built out from evolution, right? Like we have to figure out how to create a fire. So like, how do we keep ourselves warm? How do we keep ourselves fed? Going back to caveman days, right? But here we are, like we can do a better job. It's just that we don't know how. And it feels really heavy. It's intimidating to try and just solve your stress, right? So I think with breath, we said, okay, what if we simplify it? And that's what catches people off guard, is that like, you're telling me that I'm going to breathe through this little straw thing and it's going to make me feel better? Like, no chance. And then I love to watch people's reactions when they pick it up and they actually breathe through it. And then just one exhale, of going longer. Just that one exhale, I feel this like coming back into myself. And then if we can get there within 60 to 90 seconds of a different state of mind, imagine what we can do by doing that 2 or 3 or 4 times per day as a habit. So the way this thing was built, to answer your question, is it's not just some random tube. It's not a straw. It's actually has a measured and tested diameter and length. And took 2 years to test this with our psychotherapist friend who brought all of his clients in, and they tested different states. And it turned out like about an 8-second exhale was where you want to be if you're in kind of an elevated state. And I'm not talking about freaking out, anxiety attack, just that mid fight or flight. And I think that's so important to talk about because here we are. I don't think most people are losing their minds every day, but we live in this elevated state of stress, right? Where you kind of feel it in your shoulders, in your upper chest, and in your jaw. And I think what's happening is, that's become normalized. So stress is normalized. And we talk about that stress cycle, right? The 50,000 thoughts and them repeating the same day or the next day, 90% of them. So if we can break that pattern with a different way to breathe, why not do it? And it doesn't involve a Wi-Fi signal or taking a step out of a building or going on a hike. Like some people do that, right? Like it's not practical. But guess what is? Something that you wear that's always around your neck and that can guide that longer exhale. And all it takes is 3 to 5 breaths to get there. So what if that becomes our new normal? And what if we're able to be aware of that stress cycle and be like, wait a second, I can feel it in my shoulders, or my tongue's learning from my mouth, or my jaw's kind of tight. Let me take that extra breath, and then we're better. And now we're in a state of mind where we can control our mood state, and the mood state is like, hey, I'm good. Because nobody wants to be around that person that's like, kind of tight or tense. Our nervous systems can be co-regulated that way. Where when was the last time you walked out of a meeting with somebody who was tense and tight and felt good? You share that energy. So it's just a practical means of using your breath to get to a place where you feel better consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I love. It's so true. When you are around stressed out people, you take that on. You can feel it. It emanates off someone. And I say this a lot, but like when we have stress in our minds, it creates stress in our bodies, right? And our thoughts and our feelings create our state of being. And if the normal state of being in our culture is an elevated level of stress, we've normalized that to such a degree. We think this, like to your point earlier, this is just how it is. This is just what it means to be a responsible adult. This is just what it means to have a lot going on. And this is how I have to feel. For so many of us, I just have this level now that I've experienced, like, because I know how good I can feel. I have a lot of sadness and grief for the younger versions of me, but also so many people, my loved ones, my friends who live in that state all of the time and have yet to access and discover how good life can be. And sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. If we've grown up in an environment where there was mom and dad had a lot going on, and then we were constantly moving, or we had school, and then we just moved from stress to stress, then we had to get a job, and now we've got kids, and now it's like life is hard, Todd, like we have a lot going on. Simply put on the news or scrolled to an email, and like you're jolted into the stress every single day. And so as a society, we have to have tools to combat that, because if we're at war in our minds, like we're always going to be at war with ourselves. So how do we create that peace? How do we create that calm? And this is just one of those. I think there's many paths, but like this is the foundation, your breath. Without breath, like it's the first thing we do when we come into this world. It's the last thing we do before we leave. Everything in the between is what we call technically life. But I think it happens in this moment to moment basis. It's like we have to reclaim our breath. We have to reclaim our power. We have to reclaim our sovereignty over our stress instead of having stress rule us,
Great word, sovereignty, right? And that's power. And, it's like, how do we do it? And I think we can't control the news. We can't control what happens to us in life. We can't control the situation we really wanted to have happen, that promotion or, some situation not working out for us. But that's just how it goes, right? We can't control that. And if you're in a situation where you're expecting something to happen, be careful, because the expectation is going to get you in trouble. And that kind of like life owes you something. Like, wait, I worked hard for that. I deserve that. I just worked out for 2 weeks in a row. Why haven't I lost 10 pounds like I wanted to? It's like, well, you know what? Maybe you weren't doing it right, or maybe your diet wasn't right. Mm-hmm. But you got to keep at it, and you have the power of, not to sound cliche, but like the power of now, like that's the present moment. That's all you have. You don't have the future. You don't own the past. Right now is all you have. And if you can control the way you breathe right now, you are 30 to 60 seconds away from feeling better. And if your mindset is in a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and a fixed mindset is like, well, not my fault, nothing I can do about it. It's just what happens to me. It's what happens to your response that matters. And anyone like me, look, I'm 45 years old, and I discovered this thing like 6 years ago. And like you, I look at the past me, and it's like cringing at my high school years, and like it's just like, oh man, like there's so many opportunities that like my response to life could have been so much better. But hey, cool. I have gratitude for seeing that I'm fixing it now, and now I'm on such a better trajectory, and I'm sharing that with my children and my family and everybody in our Komuso community. But if you can understand and appreciate that you can fix it, and just fix this state of mind right now, that's going to compound. And just to make it more practical in your life, I want everyone who's listening and watching to think about their day. And what's something that we do like basically 200 to 300 times a day is we check this thing way too much. It's an addiction, and it's not going anywhere. So my message is like, put your phone down, because let's face it, we're not. But it's our reaction to the phone, right? And I'm not kidding with that, 200 to 300 times a day with the notifications. And what happens is a notification comes in, and we have an expectation. There's that word again. That's like, is this good or bad? Is this a text message that I'm like, or a notification that's going to be good news or bad news, or an email that's going to require me to step away? So your mind starts catastrophic thinking. There you go into fight or flight. Your breath is getting shallow, and you're either holding your breath or your breath becomes shallow, which triggers what we call tech apnea or screen apnea. It literally means you are not breathing, or you're not breathing correctly when you just look at a screen. And like a lot of us, we have to work, and that's our job, right? But catch yourself writing an email or texting somebody, you're probably not breathing, or you're breathing shallow. And that's what's getting us into these elevated patterns of stress and fight or flight. We're not aware of it, but that causes a mood state. So you might not catch that you're in an elevated mood state that's in the wrong direction, that you're a little tense, and then maybe your interaction with somebody else isn't as crisp or kind as it could have been. And even worse, you're not being kind to yourself. You're just in this state of like, all right, I got to figure this out. And there's cortisol, which is pumping into your prefrontal cortex, which is clouding your executive decision making. Like, if there's anything you need clear, it's that, because your decisions dictate your life. So all this happened because I checked my phone, but you come back to breathing. And if you can breathe slower, if you breathe less, if you breathe with intention, and if you focus on extending that exhale, you're then taking your state from that elevated cortisol-based state to a down-regulated parasympathetic response, where instead of cortisol pumping, there's serotonin, dopamine, and melatonin that's chilling you out. And I'm not talking about being in a sleepy, like weird state, just calm, alert, and actually having peace of mind.
Yeah, you said a word that I think stands out, which is addiction. We all have our own addictions to so many different things, whether it's our phone, which most of us do, food, shopping, sex, what have you. And I want to talk about one in particular that I have a lot of people in my life that I dearly care about that struggle with a lot, which is smoking or vaping. I actually grew up in a household where my dad smoked for years and had quit throughout my life, but it was something that he really, really struggled with. And what I've watched as a byproduct of kind of witnessing my friends who use this as a coping mechanisms for stress, and there's no judgment, absolutely no judgment we all have our ways in which we try to feel better, right? But there's a fixation on just holding something in your hand, right? A lot of times it's like, yes, the nicotine is what makes me feel better for a moment, but it's also just having something constantly in your hand. And I know in our culture now, vaping is so accessible. It's so trendy. It's so many young people are doing it now. How is Komuso Design also helping people to quit smoking?
Yeah, so glad you asked. So, anyone out there that's watching the series, a new series on Netflix, it's a fascinating series about Juul's rise and fall. They're one time valuated at $40 billion. They made vaping cool. They had all the young people and celebrities posting about it, and it became this cultural phenomenon. And the problem with smoking cigarettes, I think we can all agree, that it's not good for you and a leading cause of death. Cardiovascular disease, the whole thing. Vaping is different because I think what some people think of as vaping is, well, I use vaping to quit smoking. So it's, a byproduct of a healthy function. When the problem with vaping is that they're using something like you were just fiddling with that. They're using this thing that becomes a lot more accessible and convenient, because think about how people smoke cigarettes. You can't smoke inside. You can't smoke in your car. You can't smoke at restaurants. There's so many places you can't smoke now that it's basically being phased out of society. Yeah. And I'm a former smoker. I get it. I know that stepping outside for that smoke felt great because it was like, smoke break. But we're turning that into a breathing break because it replicates several different functions. It's the hand to mouth motion, which is just like you were fiddling, right? And then it's the oral fixation. So something's in your mouth. And then more importantly, you're using a breathing technique to kind of replicate the breathing patterns of smoking with those longer exhales. You can even use it to inhale through as well. We have a program that helps smokers through that. The first 10 days, you're getting that pull, that hit, but it's just air, and it does actually feel good because it has that restriction. But it works so well because now you're flipping a smoke break into a breathing break. And now you've replaced a bad habit with a healthy habit of breath work, which is actually going to make you live longer. But back to the vaping epidemic is because it's so convenient. I mean, they have these videos of people that have their vape in their hand and they have a long sleeve shirt on, and they're just kind of bringing it to their mouth and sucking it in and then slowly bringing it out. You can't even tell they're vaping.
Yep.
And the numbers are scary because you're doing it 100 to 300 times a day. So the equivalency of, the 200 to 300 hits a day is you're smoking a pack a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you're smoking like a zero nic vape, you're still getting those chemicals in, and like, are you proud of it? Do you want to be doing it? Most people who vape would say no, but they don't know how to stop because now this is their stress relief tool. So we're saying, hey, look, like this necklace will work better because one, you're going to be proud of it. It's a meditation breath work tool. Two, you're still getting that anxiety relief of the oral fixation and the hand to mouth. And more importantly, you're not pumping a chemical into your bloodstream that's going to, like nicotine, for example, that's going to actually be a stimulant and cause the anxiety to worsen.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to down regulate your nervous system. And then now through 30 days of neuroplasticity, which is just changing the wires in your brain to actually want the breathing technique more than sucking it in. I mean, we have a campaign right now that stop sucking, like stop sucking. You don't need it. Like it's not a good look and it's killing you. So instead of doing something that's hurting you, do something that helps you and that you're proud of. And I'm proud to say, like, we didn't even design it for this, but we started getting all these reviews from people saying, thank you so much. I'm, 2 months nic free or 5 months smoke free or whatever it is. And it's all because of this tool. And I was like, whoa, didn't design it for that. But I think what the smokers are realizing is they smoke because they're anxious, you know, like you feel this discomfort. And look, everyone has their vice, like you said, right? Like whether it's scrolling or drinking or gambling or picking or I play with my pen, like really these weird, these weird go-to vices that make us feel better. But what if we just kind of went back to breathing and like, again, like that common denominator, that anchor is breath, and the necklace makes you do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is why I want people to know about this. This is there's that saying, there's none more self-righteous than the newly converted. And when I got one of these, and I've been wearing my Komuso design necklace for years now. I think the first time I got one was right at the beginning of COVID, and as so many of us needed a stress relief tool during that time, I leaned on this so heavily. Still to this day, I'm a huge cheerleader, proponent, advocate. I tell all of my friends about it because again, I want these things to not what I love about what you guys do is it's lowering the barrier to entry for these states of being that are actually good for us instead of, and it's a pattern interrupt from like what we're used to doing, the normal way, quote unquote, normal, not natural, normal way of how we cope. And this is just this beautiful and practical reminder that state of being is not that far away. Can you also talk to me about how breath impacts our sleep?
I mean, that is one of the most important things. I don't know who said it, but it resonates so much with me when they said, instead of asking someone how they're doing, ask them how they slept. Because if you don't sleep right, you are not right.
Mm-hmm.
You are irritated. You have these chemicals pouring through your bloodstream that are wanting one thing, and that's to rest. That's to close the eyes. So we can't, because we got to work. We got to do our day. We have to, get life done. So the way this works is think about how you breathe when you sleep. You're breathing in a coherent pattern, right? It's about 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. And that coherent breathing rhythm is something that aligns the two hemispheres of your brain and allows you to, if your brain is shut down, go into REM 4 or 5 and get into a place where everything is shutting down, your immune system's active, right? But getting to sleep or falling back to sleep is not easy. And I think that we all struggle with it. I mean, the $1 billion, sleep drug industry that helps with that. But again, you're getting into chemicals. So like that artificial dependence. So the way you use our tool for that is basically you're going to set up a 2-minute pre-sleep rhythm. And that's important because you're getting your brain and your nervous system ready for sleep. Because what are we doing mostly before bed? We're looking at a screen, we're watching TV, or we're scrolling, and that blue light is not going to help, the mind get into that sleep pattern. And then you're not breathing right because what? Tech apnea, screen apnea, you're not breathing right. So you just take 2 minutes and you get into that 4 in, 4 out pattern. I mean, just do it right now. 4 in, 4 out feels really good because right now you're probably doing about 2 in, 2 out, or worse yet, 2 in, 1 out. And that's creating, again, that elevated state. So when you get into a 2-minute pattern of sleep, you are taking your nervous system down a notch and you're preparing for sleep, and we can turn the lights out and just get into inhale, exhale. Guess what's not happening? You're not having the press conference of all the questions from all of your friendly voices inside that are like, what are we doing tomorrow? And what's going to happen with that meeting? And what about this person? And did I do the laundry? And oh man, I shouldn't have said that to that person 4 weeks ago. Like it's a circus in there, right? Everyone knows it's normal. It doesn't have to be that way. And again, that's taking control of how you feel. And if it requires a tool to do it, great. Like you have it resting by your bedside or it's around your neck. And if you can take 2 minutes out of your life, and that's why I love talking about, that routine, morning and night routine. It's like everybody, no matter what, you brush your teeth twice a day, right? Like can't miss that. You can't not take care of your teeth, right? Like you don't want to get a cavity. You don't want your breath to smell. But when it comes to mental healthcare, like our mental wellness, what are we doing twice a day? How are we flossing our minds twice? We're not. It's just random. We'll work out or we'll go for a walk, do all these amazing things sometimes. But most people methodically or religiously twice a day like brushing your teeth. So if you value your mind and your peace of mind, and you value that as your skincare routine or your hair routine or your oral routine, take 2 minutes at night and breathe.
Yeah.
4 in, 4 out. Guarantee you that's going to get you into a deeper sleep and a faster sleep.
Yeah. I love this idea of mental hygiene because when you think about it, and this is going to kind of be a little disgusting, but like if you weren't to brush your teeth every day, what would happen? Decay. And that's what's happening mentally with our brains. There's gunk and buildup that gets in there. So we're carrying things, old thoughts, old belief systems, old energy, like stuck emotion that just hasn't been like gotten and processed through. Like if you were to brush your teeth, you get to get all that gunk out. Like this is part of that clearing. It's a clearing out of what you no longer need to hold on to that you've acquired throughout your day, and not take that into your night, not take that into your sleep. And because I know from my own experience, the nights when I am on my phone scrolling late or I'm up late and I don't have that nighttime routine to any degree, I'm more anxious in my sleep. I'm not getting as deep sleep. I'm waking up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm already reactive the next day because I haven't rested. And so we're not setting ourselves up for success. And this show, you guys, like you listen to the show because you want to play to win. You want to be on the right side, offensive side of life. You want to be able to show up and perform and optimize your performance at the highest level so that you can be the leader, be the father, be the mother, be the CEO or whatever in your life. And we can't possibly make the decisions that we need to make, have the energy that we need to bring to our families and our businesses and our relationships if we're not taking care of ourselves. And what we're talking about through breath, through sleep, through, utilizing a tool that actually helps us to connect with self instead of pumping chemicals and anything external into our bodies. What I want you guys to hear is that the resources you need are within you. You have an internal pharmacy that is available to you if you just learn how to go to it, and the breath will take you there. Like the body is deeply wise. It is so intelligent. It knows how to heal you if we allow the body to speak, if we actually start to listen to where we're holding tension and tightness and pain. Like all of that's trying to get our attention. And we live in a culture that just tries to numb it and silence it. And what I love about what you guys are doing around the education around breathwork, but also the practicality and the tactical ways for us to utilize it, is telling people there is a different way and this is what that can look like. And I think this is a message everybody needs to hear.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I love you came back to going on offense because I wanted to take it a step further, right? Because we started Komuso, we're like, whoa, we just discovered or rediscovered this amazing art of breath. And now we're breathing right and we're using our diaphragm more to expand our inhales and we're exhaling longer. And most importantly, we're aware of our breath more. But still, we felt like we can do more. And I feel like breathing kind of stopped or paused or interrupted that stress cycle. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to push forward more. And what does that mean, right? Like, what does going on offense mean?
Yeah.
So we played defense, right? We stopped interrupted the stress pattern, but we developed what's called now the Komuso method. And that is with all this research, with all these scientists and therapists and, these clinicians around us, we kept seeing these concepts repeated when it came to Breathing better, got it. Okay. But how do we think better? Right? Those 50,000 thoughts, like, what are we doing and how do we fix that? It's like, well, it's not our problem. We're going to deal with breathing. But while you're breathing, what can you be doing? And so we came up with this simple pattern of like, all right, let's coming back to brushing our teeth twice a day. It's like, okay, when you're dedicating 2 or 3 minutes in the morning, right? We're starting our day and we're ending our day with breath work. What can we be doing to influence the way we think and to get into that growth mindset, right? Mm-hmm. So what it is basically a 3-step process. And it involves the first step being emotional granularity, which there's a survey done that said that, if you ask people the 3 emotions they feel or name 3 emotions, it was just sadness, anger, and happiness, which cool, but you're not getting the 60 other emotions, which this is, by the way, if you can see this is the Gloria Wilcox feelings wheel. Emotional granularity is emotions get more granular than happy, sad, angry, right? So if you can just start by twice a day, just checking in. How are you? How often do you ask how you're doing to yourself? And if you're doing that, choose 3 words, not happy, sad, or angry, right? Because if you get into it, maybe you're not so much sad as you're regretting something. Man, I'm regretting I said that to my wife. Like, what was I thinking? And that gets you into a thought process of, oh, okay, now I understand why I'm feeling the way I feel. And now you're ready for breath work. So you can use that emotional elevator to regulate how you feel, whether you want to go down or up. You can use that breathing technique, which takes 2 minutes, right? So now you're calmer or you're feeling more energy because breathing can take you up or down that elevator. And the third one is actually really, really interesting. And it's going to sound flowery and cliche, but I can't get enough of it because I use it with my kids, with my coworkers, with myself. And that is what's called gratitude. But I'm gonna say it in a different way because gratitude can come off as, this, very new age type thing. But it is super powerful because the reticular activation of, like, let's say I'll give you an example, right? Like, we all have played the game, probably Tetris, where we're, trying to put these little shapes in different places. And when your mind sees these shapes for enough time, hours and hours a day, wherever it was, used to play that game so often, you go into the grocery store and you start to rearrange the cereal boxes in a certain way, or you're organizing buildings when you're driving. The best example I heard was this guy in college. This is a true story. He was playing Grand Theft Auto, another game, right? He's like half a day every day. And he actually, just walking on campus one day, walked up to a police car and tried to open the police car door to take it because that's what you do in Grand Theft Auto. His mind was on autopilot, right? So getting to the point here is, well, okay, how does this relate to gratitude? So our mind, going back to the, 50,000 thoughts a day and 80% of those are negative, we're in this thought pattern where it's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? How often are you asking yourself what's right?
Yeah.
Likely never, right? Because we don't have to. We're built that way. We're tough. We're survival mode. It's evolution. We always have to be aware and seeking danger, right? Because we have to protect ourselves. Great. That's the job of the amygdala. But guess what? There's another way of feeling, because if that's overactive, if you're always looking for fears, threats, that's anxiety. And anxiety is gonna make you feel like you're failing, or it's gonna set you into this like prepare for something, fight or flight mode, when you don't have to feel that way. So step 3, after you've figured out how you feel, and then you breathe through that feeling to get yourself into a new feeling, you're going to practice gratitude. And that's just naming 3 new things you're grateful for every day. And the key word there is new. You can't say I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my friends. Like, if you do it long enough, I'm talking 30 days, that's where the neuroplasticity kicks in, where you actually start to change your brain. Your brain starts to pick up on things like, I'm just grateful for having a fluffy pillow right now, or the smell of this towel, or that first sip of coffee, or the way my dog just yawned. Like, when you can be grateful for your dog yawning, you are in a great place, because now your mind isn't fixated on what's wrong. It's fixated on what's right in a way where that's repeating itself. So now the reticular activation, went back to the guy that opened the police car door, your brain is starting to form new neural pathways that's searching for good, that's searching for what I love. And it's feeding yourself with that, compassionate kindness that's like, hey, you know what? Maybe things aren't so bad. Like things are kind of going well right now, and it lifts your mood. So it's not just about breathing. You can take it so much further with that. And that's what we offer the Komuso method as a free digital course now, so that you're learning how to breathe, and that's your new normal. But now you're climbing the ladder and going on offense, so that you're not only controlling how you feel, but now you're able to, maybe you've controlled the mood states to where you're becoming better and stronger every day because of that daily practice.
I love those 3 steps, especially the thing about the emotional granularity is that so often when we ask somebody how they are, or if we take the time to actually ask ourselves that, how am I? We typically respond with how we're thinking. Like we will say, this is what I'm thinking, not what we're feeling. We're so disconnected from actually the sensations and the emotions that we're feeling. To your point, like anger, sadness, and happiness are like the ones we're comfortable with talking about. But some of these other ones, shame, grief, regret, frustration, bitterness, like if we can get granular about it, we can actually start to become so much more emotionally intelligent and wise about what's happening internally, so that we can actually know what to do with it. Then we can breathe into that, breathe through it, because I believe every emotion is just, it's energy in motion. It's like a wave that needs to crest and dissipate. It will if we feel it fully, and we can do that through the breath. And then that can actually it can dissolve as we feel through it, breathe through it, and then tap into that gratitude, which what I love about the way you just kind of described the gratitude practice in the Komuso method is what I would call, what I just wrote down, and it came to me as you were talking, is like mood enhancing magical moments, which is just like, can I go out and look at what were the 3 magical moments that happened today? And calling them magical, or calling them, because gratitude, it's just this, for so many people, there's a disconnect from that word for whatever reason. But for me, it's like, if I can say, let me go out and use my brain to scan my day today. What was a magical moment? Maybe it was seeing a friend for coffee that I haven't seen in so long, or like what you were, just the examples you were giving, you're training your brain to, one, think and look for that evidence, and then go out and find more evidence that there are these magical moments happening throughout your day, which inevitably enhance your mood and make you feel a little bit better. And so I love that 3-part method. You said that's available in a free course. Is that right? How can people get their hands on that, as well as tell me about what's happening? I know the holidays are coming up. People are hearing about Komuso Design and the shift. I talk all about it. What if there are other products in your product line? Can you talk about what those are, and then also how people can find not just the necklaces, but also any resources that you guys have available?
Yes, thanks so much for that. So if you would love, to check out the necklace, we offer, 30-day free returns, because we want you to feel like, look, you can test drive it. And we want you to feel that moment where it's like, whoa, this thing actually does work. If you use it on and off throughout the day, it's going to get you feeling better right away. And we offer several different versions of it. It's called the Shift, because it shifts your breath to shift your mind. Mm-hmm. But there's our classic shift, and there's the active shift, so it's more active lifestyle. There's a cuff shift, which is a bracelet. But anytime you buy one, we offer the course free with it, because like buying a guitar, we don't want to just ship you this tool, this instrument, and it's like, okay, well, good luck. We want you to learn how to take advantage of it, right? Because you could just make a noise with a guitar, but when you learn how to play a song, you're making music. And this tool actually was inspired by the 17th century Komuso monks, who used a flute called a shakuhachi to make music. And that's how they developed meditation. So this was inspired by that, because I wanted to kind of go back to a time when technology wasn't around and life wasn't so busy and crazy and hectic. And one of my favorite quotes is, go slow to go fast, because we can slow things down. Now you're able to work through with your, through your mind on how to do things better and more efficient, and you're happier, right? So our website is www.komusodesign.com. It's KOMUSO, Komuso Design. I'm sure we'll have a link in the show here, but with that, you'll receive a Komuso method course. So that's going to teach you basically what I just said in the emotional granularity and the breath work and the gratitude part. it's going to show you, hey, like if you brush your teeth like this for your brain twice a day, you're going to start to feel within 30 days, you're going to start to feel that shift into a better version of yourself. And that's not by accident. That is by the power of, science. And I say this because some people might think this is placebo. Mm-hmm. It is not. I can assure you, if you just take a deep breath in through your nose right now and fill your belly with air, and then you exhale for 8 seconds, you do that 3 times in a row, you tell me that's placebo, because there are things happening physiologically and neurologically that are making you feel calmer and making you feel like you're more in control. So for the holiday season, like this is by far our biggest time of year because people love to give this thing as a gift. I mean, just think about somebody in your life right now that maybe is going through something, or they have some stress that they're dealing with, or could really just use a deeper breath more often. This is such an authentic gift. And instead of giving something that's, they're not going to use, or it's going to be cute for a little while, this is something that could actually change their life and get them into breath work, all because of something that you did. So we really appreciate the opportunity to put that out there.
Absolutely. We are going to put all of this information in the show notes. You guys go to komusodesign.com/coachable. If you use the code coachable, Komuso Design is so sweet. Todd's going to give us 15% off for all of our listeners. If you go order a shift necklace or any of their products today, you'll also get that free course as well. You guys, you've heard it here first. I mean, the science, the data is there. We all could use this tool. We all know somebody who's going through something, because we all are. None of us are exempt from having hard days and going through hard things. And what I'm realizing is we could, do we really need more stuff? Do we ever really need more things? We need more experiences. We need to feel better. We need to build lives that feel as good as they look. And this tool is going to help you get there. So I hope you go check them out. komusodesign.com/coachable. Use coachable when you check out for 15% off. Todd, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you, my friend, and just appreciate what you're doing in the world. It's truly, truly making a difference.
Tori, that was awesome. And my gratitude today is just being able to talk to you, because there's some magic here in this interconnectedness, and I feel it, and I just really appreciate you getting the word out there about this.
Always. All right, guys, until next week, go be coachable. We'll see you next week on the Coachable Podcast.